Leelaya Daitya Rajasya cha Brahma Kasmadetur Abunmridaha Tasya his cha also Uddarataha while lifting Shaunim the earth planet Swadamstra Agrena by the edge of his tusks Leelaya his pastimes Daitya Rajasya of the king of demons Cha and Brahman O Brahmana Kasmat from what Heto reason Abhut there was Mridaha fight. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. What was the reason, O Brahmana, for the fight between the demon king and Lord Boar while the Lord was lifting the earth as his pastime? Please repeat after me. What was the reason, O Brahmana, for the fight between the demon king and Lord Boar while the Lord was lifting the earth as his pastime? There's no purport in this for this verse. I'll just read the next one, and the next one also has a small purport, so I'll read the next two verses. Shraddadhanya bhaktaya bruhita janma vistaram rushed na tripyati manaha param kautu halam hime. Translation: my mind has become very inquisitive, and therefore I'm not satisfied with hearing the narrations of Lord's appearance. Please, therefore, speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful. One who is actually faithful and inquisitive is qualified to hear the transcendental pastimes of the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidura was a suitable candidate to receive such transcendental message. So Maitreya Uvacha Sadhu Vira Tvaya Prishtam Avatara Katham Harihi Yatvam Prachasi Mrityanam Mrityupasha Vishatmanim. Translation: the great sage Maitreya said, O warrior, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee because it concerns the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death, from all those who are otherwise destined to die. Purport: the great sage Maitreya addressed Vidura as a warrior, not only because Vidura belonged to the Kuru family, but because he was anxious to hear about the frivolous activities of the Lord in his incarnations of Varaha and Nrsimha. Because the inquiries concerned the Lord, they were perfectly befitting a devotee. A devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. There are many topics of mundane warfare, but the devotee is not inclined to hear them. The topics of the warfare in which the Lord engages do not concern the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. In other words, one who takes delight in hearing the war topics of the Lord is relieved from the chains of birth and death. Foolish people are suspicious of Krishna's taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra, not knowing that his taking part ensured liberation for all who were present on the battlefield. It is said by Bhishma Dev that all who are present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attain their original spiritual existence after death. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord is as good as many other devotional service. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakya Shakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuddha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishagan Vitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashyathyatesha Dharine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratise Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Kam karoti vatsalam pango langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande. Shri Guru Shri Dinatarinam Tavai Vasmi Vina. Idi Vigya Devi Tvam Namam Charanantikam. Hare Krishna everyone, good morning. Welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class, chapter Pregnancy of Diti in the evening. What happened to Rupa? So what? Ah, okay. Okay. I was hoping to have the association of Rupa. He's gone. Okay. Anywho, the process of devotional service. The devotional service is a process. It's a scientific process. A scientific process means there are certain steps you need to follow to attain the goal. That's what science is. In a laboratory, you do certain things so you can achieve the desired result. So there are certain parameters. You add certain things in certain quantity. You keep it away from direct sunlight or moisture, whatever. So it's a step-by-step process. And the closer you follow the process, the experiment or the scientific process derives the desired result. Similarly, devotional service is also a process. It has certain steps one has to strictly adhere to. And one of the steps is the association of devotees. Anyway, coming back to context. So, starting with Shravanam Kirtanam, it's a step-by-step process so that one can achieve the desired success, which is devotional service. So as soon as we start changing the steps, we might not get the desired success. The success could be, the result could be something else. You might have set out to do something, and by not following the process, avoiding the steps or contaminating with things which are not required, we may not end up getting devotional service. So here, Vidura is inquiring from Maitreya Muni. So the inquiry the process of asking questions and getting a pure devotee to answer, that's a very important step throughout the process of devotional service. Even though we say Shravanam Kirtanam, even though Shravanam is the hearing process is mentioned first, it's not like Shravanam has to be given up. It's not like you Shravanam, then you come to Kirtanam, and once you are in Kirtanam, you don't need to worry about Shravanam, which has kind of happened nowadays. People are more interested in sitting with a harmonium, singing for a bunch of people, and they're not interested in hearing. But the hearing process has to be maintained. And if you don't maintain the hearing process, it doesn't matter how advanced devotee you are, you might not get the desired result. Here, Vidura is not an ordinary soul. He is incarnation of Yamaraj himself. Yamaraj is considered a Mahabhagavat. He's an authority on the science of devotion. So he knows the devotional service back to front. Or if there is any doubt in devotional service, Yamaraj or Vidura is the person to be consulted. He's one of the persons to be consulted. So he is an expert in devotional service. In spite of being an expert in devotional service and had intimate association of the Lord, Vidura had an opportunity to feed the Lord. Vidura had the opportunity to put the Lord's lotus feet on his lap. Imagine that. There's Pantastukoti Satavatsara Samparagamyo. Millions of years, the yogis and jnanis are just trying to come to the vicinity of the tip of the lotus feet of the Lord. But Vidura had an amazing opportunity that the Lord came to his house. He chose to stay in Vidura's house. It wasn't an option. He chose, I prefer to stay with Vidura. He chose to stay at Vidura's house. He chose to eat food cooked in Vidura's house. And after eating, he actually put his lotus feet, on the lap of Vidura. And Vidura got the opportunity to worship, to massage, to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, which Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Samprama Sevyamanam. Thousands, Shata Lakshmi Sahasra, thousands of Shata, hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis are just waiting for that opportunity to do what Vidura has done, or the opportunity what Vidura was having. So, Vidura is not an ordinary person. In spite of that, he is inquiring from Maitreya the pastimes of the Lord. Because these pastimes of the Lord are life-giving for devotees. They nourish the soul, the enthusiasm of devotee, the pastimes, the activities, the appearance and disappearance of the Lord. Without the pastimes, appearance and activities of the Lord, for a devotee, it's like a burial ground. There's nothing there. It's just dead bodies walking around. That's the material world. But the pastimes, the glories of the Lord, when it is chanted, when it is described, especially by pure devotees like Maitreya Muni here, it's a wonderful opportunity even Vidura takes. So here, inquisitive, the word, my mind has become very inquisitive is used, and also the translation finishes with speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful. So inquisitive and faithful are quite important words used. There are different kinds of inquisitive nature people have. For example, what is that? 7th chapter text. Is it text 16? Chaturvida bhajante mam. Jana sukritino arjuna. Artha jignasu arthati Jnanina Bharatarshava. It's 716, am I right? 716, I think. So Chaturvida, there are 4 kinds of people approach the Supreme Lord, or 4 pious, Sukritana, 4 kinds of pious people approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And out of them, one is Jignasu. One is inquisitive. That's not the same inquisitive here. So that inquisitive, what Krishna says is, it's people who just want to know what is what. They're like, okay, they see you guys are all dressed in, saffron cloth, or they see me dressed in some strange bed sheets. They might think, what is it? What is going on here? Why are you having something like this? Why are you walking around with a garland? So people might have inquisitive nature. So that's a reason, one of the reasons devotees dress in devotional clothes, wear tilak, kantimala, so it can provoke that inquisitiveness in people's mind. So people looking at you might, some good fortune, they might start asking, oh, what's the deal with you guys? Why are you strange? What's different? So it invokes that inquisitiveness. Even if they might not ask, they might go and look it up. They might go and study about you because it's different. People are interested to see different. So that's one of the reasons we wear devotional clothes. Of course, there's a movement that you don't need to wear devotional clothes. You just wear karmic clothes, and just so that you can be seen normal. Well, we are not normal. The normal, what the world defines, is eating meat, having illicit sex, living a mundane, materialistic life. So in that standard, we are not normal. We are swimming against the current. We want to get out. So we are not normal people. So since we are abnormal, if we dress abnormal, that's fine. So that people see the abnormality and become inquisitive and ask, what's the deal? So that's the kind of inquisitive people. So they might show up to the temple and ask questions. And if they happen to have, during those inquisitive nature, they happen to have association of devotees, or they go and read about it and they get Prabhupada books, and then they associate with Prabhupada through his books, Prabhupada being a pure devotee, they might have a change in heart and they might take up devotional service. So that's not the inquisitive what mentioned here. And also there is other kind of inquisitive people who are very much materially caught up, very much materially caught up. And they might inquire about how to become materially successful. They might go to seminars and they're very inquisitive. How do I invest in this? How do I invest in that? They start clubs and, weekend workshops and, how to grow property portfolio and this and that. So that there are inquisitive people there. And those people may sometimes even come to devotees. Like when I was living in the temple, there was this Russian couple who used to come and ask me, oh, can you do this particular yagya for me? I want some money. Can you really do this? And I go, do you know how to do this yagya? I said, yeah, I know how to do that. Can you do it for me? I said, no, I'm not going to do this yagya for you. Because they were very much, inquisitive to increase their material opulence. So they might be, coming to inquiring about how to increase their opulence. Or they might have some problem, they might approach a sadhu and see how to, solve the problem so that they can enjoy. So we're not talking about that inquisitive neither here, the inquisitive what described here. And there's also, in the same line, there's people who are quite envious, envious, and they want to see if, if their envy is satisfied, and they are inquisitive to see, if they are being successful or if they are, if their agenda is getting satisfied. The example is Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was quite inquisitive. He was asking Sanjaya, please tell me what is happening in the battlefield. He's inquisitive too. And Dhritarashtra as a person, Ramanujacharya in his commentary on the first sloka of Bhagavad Gita, he says Ramanujacharya is blind both externally and internally. He's blind both externally and internally. In spite of him hearing the glories of Lord Krishna and Pandavas from exalted people like Bhishma. Bhishma was an exalted personality. His teachings are present in Bhagavatam. His teachings are present in Vishnu Puran. The Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, which is glorified by Bhishma to Yudhishthira. That was spoken by Bhishma. And Dharma Shastra, Bhishma spoke Dharma to Yudhishthira, how to rule once he becomes a king. So Bhishma is a very exalted, and on top of it, he's a very great devotee of the Lord. So and this Bhishma was very affectionate to Pandu's kids, not Pandu's kids, to Dhritarashtra, to Pandu and to Vidura, because these young, from young age, Bhishma is the surrogate father, and he looked after them, he brought them up. So he was naturally very affectionate to Dhritarashtra, not just in a mundane level, but also in a spiritual level. So Bhishma repeatedly gave very valuable instructions to Dhritarashtra, but Dhritarashtra never. It was always filtered through the envy, or it was filtered through the affection for his demoniac son, for materially inflicted demoniac son. So his association with the materially inflicted person prevented Dhritarashtra to understand what great personalities like Bhishma instructed him. Bhishma instructed him, Vyasadeva instructed him, Vidura instructed him before he got kicked out of the palace. Sanjay instructed him. But nothing made sense to Dhritarashtra because his inquisitiveness or his hearing capacity was tainted by material association. So that's why Prabhupada wanted us to isolate from the mundane world. Well, Prabhupada's definition of congregation is farm communities. He thought of congregation. Devotees means people living in the farm, practicing full-time devotion. So he wanted to isolate us from the materialist people. The only time you deal with them is for preaching or giving them book or prasadam. That's the only dealing Prabhupada wanted us to have. So people who are inquisitive, but they are tainted by material attachment or material association, can also not understand the Lord. But here, Vidura's inquisitiveness is different from all the above type of inquisitive nature. Here, Vidura wanted to know about the pastimes of the Lord. He wanted to know in detail, how the Lord appeared, what are the, how he acted in his various incarnations, and it gave him nourishment. It gave him the relief from separation. A pure devotee is in constant suffering of separation from the Lord. It's not the same suffering what the material entities go through. Material entities go through suffering of birth, death, old age, and disease. A devotee's suffering is the separation from other devotees and the Lord. And to relieve that separation, that pain, he is inquisitive. He's asking more and more and more about the Lord. And that hearing and Maitreya explaining the pastimes of the Lord is keeping Vidura going. So that's the nature of inquisitiveness, what Vidura has. And also, Vidura is hearing with faith. He's not just thinking these descriptions are imaginative. He has very firm faith in what Maitreya is telling. Especially these pastimes, which are quite Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim. It's quite, it's very hard for us to comprehend. Lord appearing as a boar and taking a universal form, lifting Mother Earth, fighting with a demon in the form of a boar. These are not, could be easily imagined. But since Vidura has a strong faith, he can understand and appreciate these pastimes. So the faith aspect is also important here. So not only is inquisitive to hear the pastimes and narrations of the Lord, and he's also very faithful. And whatever Maitreya got to say, he has complete faith in them, and he's not questioning the truthfulness of the description. The truthfulness of the description. So that's a mood of Vidura here. So following in the footsteps of Vidura, sadhakas, we should also hear the pastimes of the Lord. One should start hearing from the basic. What is it? There was a letter written by Prabhupada. This is even before he came to the West. When he was just starting up the League of Devotees, he wrote one of the letters. He wrote letters to one of the Indian gentlemen, and he says, "I'm starting this movement so one can come together and hear about the words spoken, or hear the words spoken by the Lord, Bhagavad Gita, and hear the glories of the speaker, Krishna, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, and the words spoken and glories of the Lord, which is Chaitanya Charitamrita." So Bhagavad Gita is the words spoken by the Lord himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is a glorification of the Lord by various devotees, like Maitreya, Vidura. Various devotees are glorifying the Lord in Bhagavatam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is a combination of both. You have Ramananda Roy glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Various devotees, Krishnadas Kaviraj, various devotees glorifying the Lord. And also Lord, in his appearance as Mahaprabhu, also gives instructions. Various instructions, how to deal with the society, various instructions he gives. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, in that sense, is both the glorious descriptions of the Lord and the instructions of the Lord. So Prabhupada says, I've created this movement so that people can come and hear these three books. They can come and discuss these three books. And if they can't understand these books, he goes on by saying, they can listen or hear the Vaishnava songs. These Vaishnava songs written by various acharyas will give them the knowledge, will give them the philosophy very easily. If you're not very intellectual, people like, I prefer reading Vaishnava songs because that actually makes me easily understand the philosophy. Well, easily, I don't know if I understand, but it appears to me that I can grasp it much more easier than, reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. So these Vaishnava songs, especially people like me who are not very intellectual, it's geared or written for a crowd like me. So it can be easily understood. So these Vaishnava songs by Narottam Das Thakur, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it explains, who is Mahaprabhu, how, the Sharanagati, what is surrender, and how do I get Sharanagati, and all these things, and how I've been rotting in this material for a long time, and all these topics are very easily, in very simple words, described in the Vaishnava songs. So by discussing these Vaishnava songs, even an illiterate can easily grasp hold of the philosophy of the Lord. Gaur Krishnadas Babaji, when in his early days, he heard, in Bengal, the whole Bengal is crisscrossed by Ganges and various branches of Ganges. So one of the mediums of transport is taking, even now, if you want to go to Navadip, it's easier to jump on a boat instead of driving around. It'll take you 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers to get to Navadip, which is just across from Mayapur. So, to go to Swarupganj or to Krishnagar. So you just jump on a boat. So Gaur Kishoredas Babaji in his younger days was traveling in a boat, and the boatman, who was rowing the boat, was singing one of the songs of Narottam Das Thakur. And when he heard the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, Gaur Kishoredas Babaji immediately gave up his material life, if he had the material life, and immediately took up devotional service just by hearing the Vaishnava Acharya's songs. So that hearing of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the songs by various acharyas is what catalyst or pushes our devotional, purifies us and pushes our devotional life forward. And of course, one has to listen in the same mood, non-envious and with a bit of faith, these topics. So the Shravanam, hearing, is very important for one to progress in devotional life. And even if you are an advanced devotee, even Krishna himself, even though he knows everything, all the Vedas come from him, he's Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu, he knows all the rasa details, everything. But when he had an opportunity, he inquired from Ramananda Roy. He asked questions to Ramananda Roy to explain him the various rasas tattvas. So even Mahaprabhu, was hearing. And even in his later days, when he was staying in Shrita Bakul in Puri, he had a Gadada Pandit or Govinda Das to describe the narrations of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. Now, he wasn't just asking, intimate pastimes of gopis and stuff. He was asking them to describe the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. So, hearing is important in early stages, in the middle stage, in advanced stage, whatever stage you are in. Hearing of scriptures, hearing of the topics of the Lord is very important. One might ask, we have the holy name. Actually, it's not one might ask. A lot of people actually say that. We just sing. We sing with the harmonium. That's our preaching. People are not intelligent to understand philosophy, so we are not going to speak philosophy. That's actually, the class of devotees who actually within our own society have that understanding, which is quite wrong to my humble understanding. Because unless, what is that? Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya. We are all, okay, let me take the independence. We are all manda, slow. Our intelligence is slow. Manda bhagya, very slow fortune, or no fortune, no any good fortune, and always troubled. We are always troubled. So, us being in that state of Manda Bhagya, and Sumanda and Upadrita, just by chanting, we don't know what to do. We can't figure out what is the process. One might say, oh, we're just going to chant so people hear and they get purified. Yeah, they will get purified, but these people are all Smanda, Mandabhagya, Sumandamati, and Upadrishta. What is that? Misfortune. These people, even with the holy name, it takes lifetime for them to get purified and to take up devotional service. And on top of it, we are all contaminated by the 10 offenses to the holy name. We all have material desires. And again, I'm taking independence here, saying we. All have material desires. We don't know the holy name, the Nama Tattva that well. Especially neophytes showing up. They don't know. So they tend to commit offenses. And then what happens? Even though they got the seed doesn't fructify because they get into offenses. So basing the preaching only based on, we just sing and people hear and they take up devotional service and that's enough, it's not the right process. It'll work, but it'll take many lifetimes. Like what's the verse we chant in the morning, first thing in the morning? It takes, unless one avoids offenses, nashtapraya, what is it? Bahujanma Karyani, Bahujanma. It takes, if you're just thinking, I'm going to just chant, without knowing the process properly, it will take Bahujanma, gradual process, the holy name. But if one hears, the steps are revealed, so the holy name can work. So we, Manda can't come up with processes. We have to follow the process what is given by the pure devotees. So we can't shift, I'm just going to sing with a harmonium in a park and that's all. People hear and they become devotees. Well, that'll take many lifetimes. Rupa might correct me here. In early days when we used to go on Harinam, we used to actually stop and speak. We used to give 10 minutes. You're not this body. You're not Australian. You're not Indian. You're a spirit soul. We used to speak the basic Bhagavad Gita, in the middle of the Harinam. And Madhurisa Prabhu used to do it. Because that was the standard. It's not the standard of a bunch of Russian girls dancing and then they all go home. No, that's not the Harinam. The Harinam is you go, you chant the holy name, you speak. People get an opportunity to hear Bhagavad Gita. Generally when you speak Bhagavad Gita there. You're not this body. You might be thinking you're Australian, you're Indian, you're not this body, you're a spirit soul. You speak, and that speaking is what makes devotees. And then we also give out prasadam, and there's always book distributed. So it's a process. It's a process given by Prabhupada. And we follow that process strictly, then qualified people join. Then people who actually want to progress in spiritual life are attracted and join. Otherwise, we just end up attracting sentimental people, and all they want to do is sing with a harmonium. You tell them, Prabhu, can you wash a pot? They say, no, I'm busy singing for the Lord. They're not singing for the Lord, they're singing for the opposite sex. So the process, one has to, again, I keep telling, it's a process. Hearing, one has to hear the scriptures. And what is Shinvatam Sukata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam? By hearing, attentively hearing, the Lord within the heart as Paramatma becomes your suhrit, becomes your well-wisher, and He purifies from inside and places you nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu, destroys all the nashtas, all the unwanted weeds in the heart from inside. He purifies and places one in Suddha Sattva, cleans up one's inclination towards passion, inclination towards ignorance, and elevates one from internally to Suddha Sattva. How? By hearing. By hearing. So this element of hearing is very important. It's not a nice to have auxiliary. Auxiliary is the word? Auxiliary, yeah. It's actually the process. It's the chanting of the holy name and the hearing. Both. This chanting, this hearing, reading Bhagavatam is again like hearing, because Prabhupada actually dictated Bhagavatam. So you're actually hearing, when you're reading Bhagavatam, you're hearing from Prabhupada. So this hearing and this chanting, is these two put together is what purifies a person and elevates the person. All this bridge preaching won't work, because they are not based on what the Acharya has given. Or you might end up attracting people in that level, and they will be never interested to go forward. Hearing the Krishna's pastimes, His glories, hearing that we are not His body, hearing that there is mundane inferior energy of the Lord, the superior energy of the Lord, which is the soul. Hearing these topics again and again and again, reiterating, reminding each other this again and again. That's what elevates a person from highly materially, what is it? Hridaya Granthi, what is it? The rope of material attachment is cut through this process of hearing and chanting. So, in that note, I'll finish here. If you have any questions, comments, please, yes. Yes, he is referring to himself. He's saying, I'm faithful. That's one of the qualifications. He's putting forward his, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? His suitable qualification. He's putting his qualification. I'm qualified to hear this because I have faith. I have strong faith in what you are saying. Because you have to see the context here. Here, Maitreya Muni just explained something very far out, something which is very completely incomprehensible. And Vidura says, even though you explain something very incomprehensible to me, I have faith. So can you speak more? So Vidura is kind of making a foolproof argument that, oh Maitreya, you might think that you explained something, I might not have understood what you have spoken, or I might not have faith. No. I'm completely having faith in what you have said, so could you elaborate more? So he's just making that, it's not like he's brandizing that, oh, I'm a very faithful candidate. No, it have to be seen in a context. Why Vidura is like, no, I trust what you got to say. Sometimes you're preaching, people think, oh, that sounds a bit strange. That's not, no, I'm really trusting what you got to say, so can you speak more? So he's inducing Maitreya to speak more and not withhold, because of the context, contextually. And of course, for followers of Vidura, we need to be in the same mood that to become a suitable candidate, one has to receive this knowledge in faith. With faith, we have to receive this knowledge with faith. and having faith and inquisitiveness is an important quality to understand the appearance and disappearance of the Lord, which are otherwise very difficult to understand.
And in the next shloka, in the purport, Prabhupada was mentioning that Vishwadeva said that everybody in gratitude of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual existences after they passed away. So, I mean, is it actually part of when he was actually on the deathbed, the bed of arrows?
Yes.
Was it actually part of the Vishnu Sahasranam?
Yeah, before that, yeah. Though in those things, he's glorifying the Lord. When the Lord shows up in front of him, he's glorifying the Lord. And he declares that. Maybe somebody can speak on text 5. I didn't get into text 5. It's already time. So if somebody wants to speak on text 5 tomorrow.
So does it include Duryodhana as well?
Duryodhana is dead. Yes, yes. Everybody in the battlefield, Duryodhana, Karna, everybody who died, even though it doesn't matter sinful or not sinful, just having the personal vision of the Lord, of Lord's presence, millions of people got their Swarupa back. So that's inconceivable potency of the Lord. He is capable of doing. He's capable of doing. So they had the good fortune to give up their body in the presence of the Lord. So that happens only. I asked Bhanu Maharaj, the deity is not different from Krishna. We say the deity is not different from. So if I die in front of the deities, will I go back to Godhead? He said, no. That's for Krishna. In his, when he appeared in his. You might go back and might not go back. That's a different thing. Depends on your consciousness when you die. But when Krishna was physically present, it was the benefit offered to everyone who died. And there's a lot of people died. It was not just 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. There's millions and millions of people died. Pretty much the entire Kshatriya community of the entire world was present in that battlefield, and they all died. The only people who managed to survive are the 5 Pandavas. Pretty much everybody else died. Yeah, and Kripacharya. Yeah. So they all got the benefit of the Lord. It's like the pardon, the president pardons when his term finishes. He says, "Yeah, people in jail for low criminal activities, you're all pardoned. It's not they don't deserve it. It's just out of his benevolence, he pardons people." And so similarly, the members of the Kuru dynasty and everybody, they all got the benefit. But Dhritarashtra didn't, because he didn't die in front of the Lord. I don't know, I'm not very familiar, but I think he got impersonal liberation or something when he gave up his body. Even though he had personal association of the Lord, but he didn't because of his envious nature. But Krishna was fortunate for people who died in front of them. He awarded them Swarupa. So, yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. I go Premanande.